With Axios providing continuous updates on the Middle East, we're seeing that Hamas has rejected the latest US-backed proposal. This new plan, which addresses Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's conditions, includes maintaining control over the Philadelphia corridor and a full withdrawal from Gaza. This rejection raises many questions as the situation evolves. To help us unpack these developments, we're joined by a senior fellow at the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Thank you for being here. First, what's your take on Hamas's rejection of the deal discussed in Doha and set to continue in Cairo this week? In the Middle East, negotiations are fluid, and a rejection often isn't definitive. It's more a tactic to gain leverage. Hamas, despite being on the losing side of this conflict, is making demands. They want a complete Israeli withdrawal and an end to the war. They're hoping that the mediators, including the US, will pressure Israel into further concessions. We can expect continued negotiations and adjustments in the coming days. Do you think talks in Cairo will proceed as planned? Absolutely. This rejection is part of the negotiation dance. With Secretary of State Antony Blinken scheduled to meet with Israeli officials and then move on to Egypt, we can anticipate ongoing behind-the-scenes negotiations. Does Blinken's presence in Israel signal that the US believes a ceasefire is imminent? Yes, the US is creating a sense of urgency, aiming to push for a resolution. President Biden's administration, particularly with the Democratic Convention coming up, is keen on achieving a diplomatic victory. However, the effectiveness of this pressure depends on whether Hamas will agree to the terms. Protests in Tel Aviv, with tens of thousands calling for a ceasefire, are intensifying. How do these demonstrations impact Israeli decision-making? Israel is a vibrant democracy, and large-scale protests undoubtedly influence the government. Public pressure, coupled with the desire to bring hostages home, affects Israeli policies. However, similar demonstrations are not happening on the Palestinian side, where Hamas controls the narrative and continues its conflict without internal dissent. What comes next if a deal is reached? Are the next steps clear? Even with an agreement, there will be detailed negotiations on implementation. This includes potentially returning hostages, reducing Israeli military presence in Gaza temporarily, and releasing Palestinian prisoners, some of whom are Hamas operatives. Several officials have suggested that Israel has done all it can to defeat Hamas and that complete eradication is unfeasible. What's your view? Hamas represents a radical ideology in a political movement, not just a group of fighters. While Israel can't eliminate every last supporter, it can degrade Hamas's military and political power, setting the stage for more effective governance in Gaza and better conditions for its residents. Finally, how might the situation with Iran and Hezbollah impact the current negotiations? Iran and Hezbollah's potential reactions, including retaliatory actions against Israel, remain a significant concern. The ceasefire talks may have given them temporary political cover, but the threat remains. Additionally, Iran's nuclear ambitions could dramatically shift the regional balance and affect U.S. interests. Thank you for your insights. We'll continue to follow these developments closely.